Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Well, we got the 64 flying high. It's time to get under her and do a little work. Welcome back, everyone. So, up on jack stands, all four. I've even gone through underneath here and did a little sweeping, got a vacuuming. There's like literally half a car underneath this thing. I guess in reality, it'd be almost a complete floor of rust was under there. But everything is done. Floor is complete. My throttle pedal, that's all done and built in there good. Got my nice angle on there. And I've even gone through with my scraper and I've taken off the rest of all the old seam sealer that was still left around the floor. Now the main reason I got the car lifted up here, I'll show you here underneath. It's kind of hard to get under here. But all my panels that I've welded together, I've tried to butt weld everything I can the best I can. Some there's a small overlap. But what happens is what you see here. So you get these drips, kind of like teardrops, sorry. That is from the MIG welder. Now, my MIG welder is a 250 Miller. I'm running 045 wire, a 220 volt. So welding sheet metal is a little rough with it. The penetration is 100%. It comes through plus some. So what I want to do is I want to run a flappy disc under here and a grinder just to clean this up and make it smoother. And then you get spots like this where I've actually gone through with the wire and it's popped the little wires through. It's kind of like a porcupine. And you'll find that kind of around all the seams. You can see it up here as well too. There's some poking through as well. And this is just going to clean it up and make it a little smoother because I will be priming this metal under here. But I can't put any real coatings on this until I get my inspection done, so they can get good visual reference that I have not welded my frame anywhere. Now the frame, of course, is solid on this car. I'm not worried, but I do have to have proof that I didn't do any welding or maintenance on it at all. So once I get all that grinding done underneath, then I'll be able to come back up top here and seam seal this and paint or prime it, seam seal it, paint it, because I don't want to, I don't want to burn off any of the primer if I'm grinding on the bottom. So that's the first thing I got to do. So I'm going to get under there, get at it, and we'll check back. So underneath the car, I got it all cleaned up now. These are the wheels I use cleaning it up. It's I call them flappy wheels or a flappy disc. They're just layers of carbide sandpaper all stuck together. They do a really nice job, a really nice finish on those welds. But I got it all ground underneath, so now I am ready to jump inside. Now I've gone through and scraped it one more time just to get there's a little bit of extra rust here in the corner of these grooves that I found. But now that it's all scraped out, I got my little electric heater going tonight because I figured it was prudent that when I'm going to be spraying a ton of spray paint, I probably don't want the wood stove sucking that all in and risk blowing my shop up. So I'll get this heater going a little longer. I'm up to 10 degrees now. I hope to get it up to about 12 degrees Celsius. I'll start painting. It's going to get really thick in here, so I'll have my respirator on, and then I'll leave the heater run for another couple hours until I go to bed, and hopefully that'll cure the paint well. Damn, that went down good. Now this is primer, even though it looks shiny. It's starting to dull up pretty good in some areas, but I did go a little thick because she's wet. And of course, it's only about 12 degrees Celsius in here. Actually, it's barely over 10. And I only got the electric heater going just because, like I said, I didn't want to have the wood stove sucking all this paint fumes in there. Don't want to risk blowing this place up. But I'm going to let this sit overnight. I'm going to let that heater run for another 2 or 3 hours. And hopefully everything is good and dries up well. And we'll start getting the seam sealer. And I'm going to start closing this stuff up. So, it's the next day, and things dried up well. It is perfectly dry, no issues, no big fish eyes, no runs, spots where the old sealant was that I chipped off and I washed down with some brake clean. Everything worked good, no oil stains at all. So now it's time to bust open the sealant, seam sealer, and give that a try. And gonna get it nice and toasted in here and get a fire roaring tonight. So this is the product I'm using. It's a Dominion Sure-Seal. This is an OEM approved, OEM style sealant. There's two types you can get. There's an asphalt based sealant, and like this one, there's a rubberized based sealant. Now, I went with the high rubber content sealant, just because I am going to put a top coat over this. Now, the floor, the 64, I didn't blast it or anything, so it did have a little bit of rust on it. The asphalt-based product, it doesn't like being on primer. It likes being on a bare steel. That's how they kind of recommend is the best application. And I didn't want to do it on bare steel because I don't want to trap any of that rust under there, and I really, didn't want to blast it. This stuff can go on bare steel, but it also it likes to grip to something a little better. That's why I went with that self-etch primer that I put on there. And also that primer is also stops the rust as well too. It's made to be applied directly to rust, as long as it's not big and flaky, to help seal it and stop it. And this is going to grab really good to it. Now I did squirt a little bit out here just to check it out. And it's kind of the consistency of a heavy grease. And it smells just like Bondo. So we're going to give it a go. I got the end cut off. I'm just going to attack this thing kind of like it's a bathtub. Start sealing it up. Now it does say so in the instructions that it's easily tooled and painted on. So I do have a small paintbrush I'm going to use on my seams just to really smooth it out and hopefully make it look much better. Man, it's time to let that fire start dying down. We're cooking in here. We're at 21 degrees. But we have a sealed floor. So that rubberized sealant, it went down real well. Now I laid it in like a bead, just like I was doing caulking. But having that bead lumped up over these welds just did not look good at all. So because it is, they did say it's paintable, I took a paintbrush, just a small one, little 1-inch one, and I locked it down. Kind of shoved it into the welds, make it a little better. I brushed it out, so for the most part, even though it looks a little rough on the edges, that's just where, there's not enough of it. It smoothed this right down. You got just a nice little hump on there. And when I finally put in my rubberized floor coating here, spray that in, I think it's going to hide it all. Now I made sure to get everywhere. There's only 3 factory seams here. They are these 2 seams in the hump that go that way, and the one main, well, this one's actually kind of 2, but the top one that goes over top of the tunnel and across, those are the only factory seams. Everything else you see, every other black line, that is how many pieces of metal that I've put together to make this floor and piece it together like a big jigsaw puzzle. So I guess the rest of the evening here, I'm just going to kick back a little bit, wait till this fire goes out till I go inside, and we'll pick this video back up again tomorrow morning. Hopefully I have my paint, and hopefully that sealant will be dry, and we'll see how that goes down. And it's another day. The stuff has been laid down for about 24 hours, and it didn't lay down or pool down as much as I was hoping it would, but there's no big lump here like a bead of caulking, so I am glad that I ran through that with a brush. It did shrink up quite a bit. At least 50% of the brush lines are gone. So once I put that this coating down, it'll be really nice and smooth. So this is what's going down, this rocker guard. Again, there's a few different types of this. There's actually, in this brand, there's 3 things. There's the asphalt based, just like the seam sealer was that we talked about. This one's the rubberized one, which is like the sealing I used. And then there's one that's not rocker guard. It's actually like a bed liner, a spray-in bed liner. Now, this one This rocker guard is about $8 cheaper a can than the bedliner stuff. And checking out the reviews and going by the specs on here, there's no difference, except for the fact that the rocker guard is meant to be painted over all the time. If it's left out in the sun, it's just like plastic on, you know, a quad or ATV or something like that. It tends to turn a little bit white, where the bed liner stays that dark, nice black, kind of, you know, semi shiny black all the time. So this will dull out in the sunlight and the UV, but it's going to be in the car underneath carpet for its entire life, for the rest of the life of this car. And all I really need is something to do a final sealing of this. And also, this goes on thick. This is going to be used as a sound barrier as well, just to kind of muffle the road noise from underneath this car. Now again, we are spraying paint, so we are using the electric heater and not the wood stove. So we're up to almost 12 degrees here right now. So we are good to go. Now, one bad thing is I've ordered 3 of these cans, and I only got 2. But when I got them, when I went to pick them up, I didn't realize these are huge, 550 gram. That's a big spray bomb. That's like a tall boy. That's almost twice as much as a standard paint can. But anyway, we're gonna get these shaken up. Gonna throw on a respirator and start laying down some paint. Whew, would you look at that? Damn. Almost looks professional. Almost looks brand new. Now this stuff, man, it goes down like a blanket. Man, does it go thick. And some spots are quite a bit thicker than the other. I kind of laid it on heavier in the wheel, in the footwells on all the sides. And I also did a little thicker here in the back tubs for the wheels as well too, just to try to cut down on that sound. But it smells like a chemical factory in here. So, got a big fan moving some air across here. I'm gonna leave that small electric heater go for a while. I'll come out and shut this off, and tomorrow we'll check on this when everything's dried up and see what the final result looks like. And here we go. It is the next day and the final day for this floor. This is going to wrap up the video. Man, this went down nice. It is thick. You can feel it. You can feel the rubber. It's not squishy, but man, did it ever lay down nice. And those seams turned out awesome. There is no water going to be coming through any of that. That is just wicked. That is perfect there. That seam there, just like factory. Looks awesome. And I am a happy camper. So yeah, that is the end of this video. A whole week of doing floors. But it is a big job that I am so happy got finished. And I am actually really impressed with how good it turned out. Once it got it primed, sealed, and this rubberized coating put on it, it definitely turned it around. Huge transformation on this floor. Dare I say, actually I will. I believe this is better than factory. Factory did not cover the holes and the gaps as good as the products that we bought here and put on this thing. But anyway, hope you join us again next week. We are going to be opening Pandora's box, also known as taking a look at these rocker panels on the outside. I know already there's very little over here, but I have high hopes that that side is mostly intact and it's going to be patchwork and not a complete weld and complete rebuild. But anyway, as always, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for subscribing. Love to have you all along, and catch you guys again later.